Hi, everyone. Welcome to our PD session for teachers only. And I'm so excited to welcome you to our special webinar with amazing guest, Dr. Ron Morrain, who is going to share with amazing discussion today. And this is his second time when he is sharing for Teachers Love You Do. And if you haven't watched or you haven't learned yet about TBL and PBL, please do watch this video. It's on YouTube and you can find it in the playlist Teachers Love You Do. And at the rest, and this very lovely note, I would love to check our geography here. So please don't forget to share from which part of the world you're tuning from and what is your teaching role. And I would love to mention that we are going live on Facebook as well. And I do suggest you to join us on YouTube, because here we've got much more interesting and engaging conversation. And if you've got any questions, please don't forget to drop them in the Q&A box. I have placed the question for you. Do you know what CPD is all about? And there were like 50% yes and no. And I'm even more excited to know that you will learn something new. And if you want to prove your learning today, please don't forget that I'm providing certificates. All you need to do is just to share your insights, highlights, and capture some screenshots from today's session and place them on any social medias that you like on Instagram and the stories. You can tag me or post on Facebook, on Twitter, and don't forget to use this hashtag Teachers Love You Do, tag Dr. Ron Morrain and myself, and I would be so grateful. And you will get your certificate. Also, I have created a reflection space for you as a collection, and I'm going to share it with you, where you can also provide your feedback. That's how I can see who watched us, who learned something from this session. So this is what I wanted to mention. And at this very lovely note, I can't wait to have a look through the chat who has already joined us. And oh my gosh, I can see that someone from Facebook joined us. Please do join us on YouTube. There is a link attached to the post that I made on Facebook. So I can see your beautiful names over here. And thank you so much for sharing and for joining, for tuning in. I can see my friend from Vietnam. Hello, thanks for joining us. And again, there is May. Thank you from the Philippines. Amazing. It must be really late at your side. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate that you join us. And from Taiwan, Judy. Hello. I haven't seen you for ages. Thank you so much for joining. And I can't wait to invite Dr. Ron Morrain, because hello, Dr. Ron Morrain. How are you?
Hello, Anna. Thank you for inviting me.
Second time I can see you. I can learn a lot from you, because you're amazing. And all of these people, beautiful people, they joined to learn again from you, because you provide such amazing webinars, tutorials. You're a great man, international. And here's a question for you at the very beginning. What country are you coming from to us today? Because I know you're super international. I would love to mention that you have been working as an educational consultant and business English trainer for how many years? For over 20 years internationally.
Well, I've been a teacher for over 30 years, but I've been working as a teacher trainer for over 25 years, and also just doing educational consulting. I've been doing that since 2007.
Wow.
And I'm coming to you today from beautiful, sunny Germany.
Wow.
Even though I live in the Netherlands and also in Spain, I'm coming to you from beautiful, sunny Germany.
That's amazing. If you can see the chat, that our geography is really wide today. It's amazing. I love this part. This is my one of the favorite parts ever. And you may see probably that someone has joined from Egypt, from Kenya, and Nagla. Thank you so much for joining. Yelena Geika, thank you so much. Russia, Novgorod.
Hello, everybody in Russia.
Yeah, we love you here. You know that. Okay.
I miss coming to Russia.
We need you there, not once, like many times, always welcome. And so at this lovely, I want to say hi to my friend Miguel. Thank you so much. Hola. Muchas gracias. Vale. And the next question, that the very first one, actually, that was the second one. The first one I have already asked you. So what is meant with the term discerning?
You know, you're not the only one who asked me that question. And, it took me a while to, come up with it. but actually I've always had it and I've always used it. And discerning means making good decisions. It means being a good judge of things. And when we're young and we're uh, barely starting out in teaching, we might not be as discerning as we should be. But as
Yeah.
we become more experienced teachers, more experienced in the classroom, we do become more discerning. So while this is not just for experienced and seasoned teachers, I think we, as an older teacher, it's our job and responsibility to use our life experience and share that with younger teachers so they too can become discerning. That's why I chose it. That's why I use the
Wow.
word.
This is incredible. Absolutely. And we're so lucky that you like sharing. So, really, I feel myself so happy and grateful. Let's talk about what CPD really is. So, what is teacher CPD?
Well, CPD, just in general, it's about lifelong learning. And so
I love it.
teacher CPD is not any different than any other CPD. It is about lifelong learning. And I need to say that, in many cultures, there's cultural aspects to CPD. That in many cultures, many teachers think I went to university, I've learned all the things that I had to learn, and now I'm a teacher, and I'm just going to go in the classroom and start teaching, and then just do this over and over and over and over again. And they're pretty much headed for burnout, yeah, and they're going to be pretty much headed to dissatisfaction, and with low efficacy, rates. They're going to, not really like what they're doing. So, in order to sort of, avoid that, we do as teachers have to accept that teaching means learning and it's lifelong learning. And CPD is also about self improvement. We have to reflect on what we do, what's going on. We need feedback from our colleagues. We need to be with other colleagues. And we need to see how other people are doing things. So again, CPD is also about self improvement and self development. So as we learn, we develop and we become better at what we do. And we improve our teaching practice in the classroom, and the winners are always the learners. So those, I think, are the three important points about CPD: lifelong learning, self improvement, and self development.
These are my favorite words. And I just want to give a shout out that someone like Mark Meyer has joined us from the Netherlands. And would you like to mention your company, Ron? I know that.
Well, Mark actually is the one who runs the company.
Oh,
With Corona and everything, and as I've gotten older, I've just decided that it's time for me to step aside and let the younger people with more energy to do the things. I don't have to be the head of the company. I did that for so many years. I've been the head of departments
oh,
at
mhm.
universities, and I've had academic jobs, and I pretty much have run the gamut when it comes to careers in academia and also in private industry. But it was time for me to move aside, and Mark took over the company, and he moved it to the Netherlands. He lives in the Netherlands, and we just decided to restructure the company. And Corona, we decided to do this before Corona. So it was, when Corona came, we were prepared. We were prepared. We were ready to go. And of course, we've done some tweaking and changed some things and changed the core of beliefs of the company and also what we do. Mark has really helped a lot, and I could not have done it without him. But we have a small team, and uh, with everybody working together, we've been able to create syntax solutions in the Netherlands.
Wow, this is amazing. I love the Netherlands. I've been to Amsterdam like twice and I love the city and the country itself. So, and the next one, well, I guess I better ask you, why is CPD important? You've mentioned such powerful words, but anyway.
Yeah, well, that's a long answer, Anna. And, I thought about it and I was like, well, really, what is it that I really need to say to answer that question? And I was asked that same question by a colleague many years ago. And I, I guess she thought that I was just going to be able to answer it just like, oh, that's what it is. Why this is
Yeah.
why it's so important. Because I was inside the teacher's room at a university that I was working at, and I was trying to convince my colleagues at a meeting that they needed to get involved in, some CPD, to, really help them to develop what they do in the classroom. And I didn't want to sound like I was going to make a speech or anything like that. But I told him, I go, well, at our next meeting, I'll come back and I think I have, some points that I could, present to you about why it's so important. So at our
Mhm.
next meeting, I was prepared for them. And I came up with 10 points, which I thought were important, to, help try to convince my colleagues that CPD is important. Uh, but there's a lot of things that go into, the importance of CPD. And you got to do a lot of, backstepping to, think
Yeah.
about why it's important. And one of the things is I think that people just sometimes make the mistake and they just jump into it, not even thinking about it. But they have to think about themselves, and that is that our life experience that we bring to the table with our social, experience and cultural capital that we bring to the table, that
Mhm.
affects how CPD works and how we understand it. So we got to think about, where do we come from? And the next thing is, what is our teaching learning context? I don't want to send a business English teacher to a CPD course on how to teach young learners. So, you got to really think about your teaching learning context. And
Mhm.
even though I'm working with all these people together, all of us do have different teaching learning context. And the next thing I told them is that you got to think about your teacher identity, that teacher identity means your that classroom persona that you've developed, and how you are in touch with that, because that is also going to affect your
Yeah.
CPD, and
Mhm.
that's also important. But I think also on that list is our personal assumptions and expectations that we have of CPD. They might not always be realistic.
Mhm.
And another thing is our personal attitudes that we have, and beliefs about what learning is and what teaching is. And that also is a
Wow.
cultural thing as well too. Different cultures have different ideas and beliefs about what learning and teaching is all about. And the next thing is, when you make the decision that you are going to do it, that willingness that you need to bring to the table to try something new. So when you
Wow.
register for a CPD, you're going to know you're going to be thrown with a lot of different things and different ideas. And are you willing to try some of those things and take some risk
Yeah.
about what you're learning? And the next thing I think is, well, if you're going to, you got to have an open mind, because uh, you're going to hear different things, different perspectives, different than maybe what you're doing things. So, come to a CPD event with an open mind. That's going to help you a little bit.
It's
Yeah.
very essential.
It's
Mhm.
not, and that's good. And that open-mindedness is going to help you to deal with change, because CPD is about change as well too, and that's also why it's important, because we have to reflect on what we're doing, and we have to think about how are we doing things now, and how do we want to do things in the future, and that means change, and change doesn't always come easy for many people. And I think the last thing that's important, of why CPD is important, we as teachers have to adapt ourselves to market forces. Corona was the greatest example that it came. A lot of teachers were not prepared for online learning. It was all new
Yeah.
for them, and they had
Mhm.
to do a
Mhm.
lot of catching up. So, always getting out there, go to some CPD events. This is why it's so important. So you find out what's going on in the world of English language learning and teaching, and, learn what, put something on your wish list, your bucket list of something you want to learn to improve your teaching practice in the classroom. So again, adapting to market forces. So I think those are some of the points of why CPD is important.
Wow, this is amazing. And the next question then, should teachers be responsible for their own CPD journey? And what is the importance of personalized CPD?
Well, um, I consider myself to be autodidactic. I just like learning by myself. I've always done it like that. Even when I was
Wow.
at university, I like taking my notes and making them real pretty and fixing them. A lot of my friends at college, at university, would pay me money for my notes that I would take in class. And I had a small little business going on at the university, and
Wow.
I got in trouble for it, but I had to stop it because they felt that it was a form of cheating. I didn't feel that it was
Hmm.
that, but of course I did have to stop it. And I learned a lot about how I learn, and that I took a very personal approach to developing myself very early. I'm a lifelong learner, but teachers. There's so many different ways to learn, and self-directed learning, autonomous learning. We want that for our students. Well, we should want it for ourselves too. And if we expect that from our students, we have to ask ourselves, are we self-directed? What are we doing to be autonomous? And, you know, we don't always need to sign up for a webinar or, go to some workshop, uh, get all dressed up and go there for 3 days to learn something. We can learn by ourselves. Start with Google. Find out what's missing in your career. What would you like to learn? And see, there's so many things to find on the internet, and a lot of it for free.
Yes, this is true. But many people, they do not see this possibility, or they think that it's better to ask someone, you know? Or what do you think about this kind of people? Like, is it lifestyle? Is it what? What kind of feature is it?
Not all teachers are the same. We bring different attitudes and beliefs to the classroom, and there's something what I call a walk-in, walk-out teacher. These are teachers, after owning a school for many, many years and dealing with hundreds of teachers. One of the teachers that I always tried to avoid was the walk in, walk out teacher. They walked in 5 minutes before the class started, and as soon as the class was finished, they walked out. They didn't try to build relationships with their colleagues. And relationship building in education is extremely important, not only for you as a teacher building relationships with your students, or your learners, but building relationships with your colleagues. And CPD is one of those ways of doing it. So teachers who are not on board with building relationships and networking, they're probably going to have a little bit more problems finding happiness in the job, finding efficacy. This is very important. And you will find that usually teachers who are very well connected, good communicators, share with their colleagues, they're actually happier. I'm one of
Yes.
them. I'm just one of them. I,
Yes.
I, I, I love connecting with my colleagues. I, I learn a lot
True.
from other
Hmm.
colleagues. I'm always learning. It's just because I'm, older doesn't mean that I know everything. There's always something new to learn.
But you like sharing, and you run your groups on Facebook. I know there is really popular one with big number of followers. And also today we are going to show the resource collection and all the links to Ron's social medias. You can find there, like everything. Mhm.
I did close my many of my social media sites and started it,
Mm,
all brand new.
mhm.
The numbers used to scare me and it would make me nervous. Oh my God, I felt like I was being stalked. I mean, you had 70,000 on this page and 40,000 on
Oh
that
my
page, and I was
God.
like, my God, I felt like this huge responsibility,
Yeah,
and it just became too much for me.
too
And
much.
so I just started all over again. I have a rule now that I don't accept anybody in my social media sites who are not a teacher or not in the
Mhm.
education business.
I love this comment very much from Mohammed. Hi, by the way, a great teacher. And all of us need CPD to stay up to date. Yeah.
Thank you,
What do you think?
Mohammed. That is very true. It's very, very true.
So, and the next question is coming then. Who is providing CPD for teachers? Where should teachers go for their CPD?
Uh, you know, there's several ways to answer that question, and I could just give a list of recommendations of names who I think are great providers of CPD. Uh, but I think I better not do that. Okay. I think I better approach the question from another perspective, and that is, I think, what should teachers, you know, not expect from a CPD event, but or where they should go, but what kind of CPD events are out there? Because,
Hmm.
teachers get confused about that. Some teachers don't know the difference between a webinar and a workshop. And that was always a big problem for me trying to, explain the difference. But I put them into sort of five categories. And one of them is the informational webinar. Like this one today, it's informational, where we have some talking heads, and we have some questions and answers. It's informative, and we can learn from that too. Okay, but that's one kind of webinar. The second one is instructional. Instructional webinars come in two different kinds. One of them is it's a passive talk, a panel discussion.
Hmm.
It could be a podcast or a video, but questions and answers are not always possible. So sometimes there's not that much interaction.
Yeah.
Podcasts, it's very difficult. You can make comments afterwards below or something like that.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
usually, and I've done quite a few of those, being interviewed, whatever, but that's still instructional, but it's passive. Then you've got another kind of webinar, which is called instructional as well, but that's interactive, and that's more of a workshop, an online workshop, where we get tasks. We get to go to breakout rooms. We get to talk with other people, share our ideas, and learn from our colleagues. And I find that to be one of the better formats for. So if somebody's offering that to you, that for me is always what I recommend. So you can network, meet other people, socialize, and learn at the same time. Because learning does have some social factors. Then
Sure.
there's the fourth one, which is called infomercial. And that one we have to be careful about. Uh, there are many, many webinars being offered. And, I've been in this business many years, and you get a lot of them that sound like you're going to, learn something, and you will, but they are selling you something. They
Yeah.
do want
Always.
to sell you something. And so it's instructional with like a commercial. So they're infomercials, and usually publishers, testing agencies, they usually fall into that category of infomercials. They'll get somebody to talk to you, and tell you all the advantages and pros and of a book and how to use it. And a lot of those that are done by publishers are also uh, for teachers who are into course book driven instruction.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
So, but again, an infomercial, they are selling you something, and it's usually a book or a platform or something where you could do your teaching from or anything. And the last one is actually a combination of all the above, where yes, they're going to
Hmm.
sell me something. That's okay, but they are going to teach me something.
Yes.
They're going to have interaction. It's going to be like a workshop, and if you can find something like that, great. But it's hard to find something like that because publishers
Yes.
do 45 minutes and that's over with. Usually when you go to conferences, if you're lucky, it's 45 minutes, but usually those talks are like 30 minutes. You're just in and out, and then you run to the next one. So, again, it's informational, instructional, infomercial, and if you're lucky, a combination of all the above.
Wow, super informative. And Ron, I would like to mention this question from Mohammed. Do you have a number of CPD hours required from your school district or Ministry of Education in your country?
Well, Mohammed, that's a great question,
Yeah.
because every country does have some rules. And, you find it's sort of a phenomena in, online learning, is that you'll offer a webinar, and you'll get hundreds of registrations, and they really just want to come for their certificate. It's
Yeah.
not about learning. There's people out there that just collect certificates. And I'm very strict about that. I'm not going to give a certificate to somebody from one of my webinars if they don't take a test or something and answer some questions. There's nothing free in life, okay? And usually when you register for something like this, this is called harvesting, where they want to get your information, because they're going to put you on a mailing list or an email list or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't like doing that. Yeah. but I live in Germany, and I think Germany is a model for many countries, especially in Northern Europe, where we have legal definitions of what CPD is. And we have a legal definition of what a workshop is. And they do need to be certified. They usually are certified through certification agencies where they do check the content, they check the person. And a lot of them are, of course, recommended by the Ministry of Education. But for the Ministry of Education, you do have a minimum of 32.5 hours a year, which a teacher must take CPD. So this is how it works in Germany. You
Thank
can
you
do
so
it in
much.
you can do it in 1 week, or you can do it in little workshops. But at the end of the year, you do have to have at least 32 hours of CPD every year.
And there's another question from Deepak again. Thanks so much for joining. He's a great educator. And how to play flow chart of CPD? Is it
I don't
correct?
understand the question.
Yeah. So Deepak, can you explain this? I thought that everyone knows what you mean, except me.
If I understand it, is there a certain
Uh,
flow chart, like just starting here and where do you go from here to there
oh.
to there?
Mhm.
Uh, it's different for everyone. It depends on your teaching learning context. It depends on your culture. It depends on what kind of education you have. Did you go to school and study education? Do you already have the basics? Do you understand methodology? Do you understand linguistics? Do you understand the basics that any teacher, classroom management, assessment? If you already have those things, well, it's not bad. It's not going to hurt you if you refresh those. But if you don't have them, you better start making a list.
Yeah.
And
And
that's the workflow.
thank you so much, Ron. There is a comment from Mohammed. Yes, correct. We always ask teachers to focus on the skills, not certificates. Yes, this is really clever and nice. And the next question then, so here we go. So personally, I think CPD course have a plan and a goal. So this is actually a little bit closer to the question that Deepak asked. But what should teachers expect from a good CPD course? What kind of expectations should we have? Like,
Well, teachers have personal expectations, okay?
yeah.
And there's actually been research done in to answer this one question. There is scientific research, asking thousands and thousands of teachers all over the world of what makes an effective CPD course, and what expectations teachers have of CPD. And I think over the years, I've sort of developed my own list of what I think, is effective, but my list might not be, it's not scientifically, it's research, it's subjective. So what I did was, this was several years ago, because I was also asked that question by someone else. And I felt like, hey, wait a minute, I better not just, answer it from a subjective perspective. I better do some research myself. And I found that there were about 10 points on that one. And so diversity is one thing that makes a good CPD course. And when I say diversity, I mean the diversity in
Beautiful
activity
word, just beautiful.
that they're going to give you. What, are they just going to do? Are they going to give you some tasks, some exercises, or is it just going to be a PowerPoint and they're just going to kill you with a PowerPoint? Yeah, that might not always be, the best way to teach. So teachers do seek diversity in a CPD course, and that makes an effective course. The next thing is, am I getting practical tips from this course? Tips that I can use immediately in my classroom and in my teaching practice. So that makes for an effective CPD course. What about classroom expertise? Who's doing that course?
Wow.
Is that person a specialist in that, or is who is this person? What education background does this person have? What does he or she bring to the table that's going to, really guide this class? Or is it just somebody who just wants to do a webinar, So you got to look at that, so expertise is important. Another thing is the CPD course relevant and timely? In other words, we have a need now. We need to fill that need now. And so, does that CPD course is that timely? Because I have this need and I need to learn this really quick because I feel I need to learn it. So that's also important. It's relevance and timely. Uh, Modeling is the next thing. Uh, is the person who's doing the course modeling for you? Just like we as teachers model for our students, we also are learners in this CPD course, and we need other teachers to model for us. How does that work? Can you show me?
Wow.
We need, it's learning by seeing, cognitive apprenticeship. So are they showing us a video? I love to show videos of me filming students that I worked with and giving them tasks so the teachers can see how to do TBL or PBL. So modeling is very important, and that makes for an effective CPD course. The person who's doing the class also, where is he getting his information from? Or is it evidence based? Is it, some from research? Can he quote that? Because we need to know that, okay? Or is it just something they're making up? Okay, that's like when I talk about TBL and PBL.
It was amazing.
I want to talk about things that are evidence based. This is important, and that also makes for a good, effective CPD course. Well, they should be fun, and we should have fun at a CPD course. And also, we want to network and we want to socialize as well too.
Yeah,
Are
that's
they
what we need these
providing
days,
us that with
especially.
that? Yeah, it's like, what about the breaks? I want to meet my friends and have a cup of coffee with them. I like this person that I just met, and I want
Oh,
to talk. Yeah, and so we need that social factor build. That makes for an effective course. But the last point I think is, and there I just have to be direct. Cut the crap. It's like, please don't do these 45-minute long talk about who you are and where you come from and all your degrees, and let's do some get to know things and play games and all that. Get to the point. This is what teachers want. They signed up for the course because they want to learn. Okay, they
yeah.
already know who you are. They probably Googled you. Okay, so we don't need all of that. Okay, so let's just get to the point, be direct. Let's start learning, because that's what they want. They want to learn. That's why they're there. Don't
This
waste
is
their
so
time.
important. Yeah. Yeah. And I like this comment from Miguel Cuadros. Yeah, I hate those courses that actually are selling something. Yeah. So, and also there is a comment from Deepak. Thanks for understanding my question and answering it. You inflected me a lot by such good answer. I liked it a lot. So that's really nice. So well, you sense it and thank you so much for answering the question. And yeah, very interesting. Lots of good comments, but we are moving forward. And but before we dive in, there is a comment from I'm sorry, I can't pronounce the name correctly. CPD definition and meaning. Oh, this is thank you so much for sharing with the meaning. That's super essential.
Hmm.
Yeah. And now we're moving to the next question. So there are so many CPD offers out there, so many choices. So my next question is, how can teachers choose the right type of CPD course and CPD provider? Like,
Well, I think I've already said it, but I'll say it again.
yeah, but
And that is, what is your need? What do you need? Have you
concentrate on the needs.
have you reflected on your own teaching practice and really thought, maybe I'm not so good with this, and maybe I should take a workshop on that. Uh, and I think the next thing you have to, ask yourself is, what's my teaching learning context? If I'm working with young learners, find some young people who specialize in young learning, teaching grammar to young learners, how to get young learners engaged. That's more educational psychology,
Yeah.
behavioral things, classroom management. And that's also important. So, what's your, not only your needs, but what's your teaching learning context? Find out who the experts are, of course, as I said. Get informed. Google it if you have to. Just put it in there. You'll find something. I always do. And go to Facebook sites, social media sites, LinkedIn, where teachers are meeting who have the same learning context, and learn from them. And I have one that I run. I have over 30,000 people there from all over the world. It's webinars for English teachers. I
Yeah,
invite any
great
teacher
one.
to come there because we get experts from all over the world offering free webinars for you. Okay, so you can really take control. I always say take control of your own CPD. Don't depend on someone else. You've got to be self-directed. You
Wow.
have to.
Powerful words. Absolutely. And the next question then, can teachers take a CPD course and learn alone?
Well, I just said self-directed.
Yeah.
Yes. And
So
yes, they can. Like me, I like learning alone. I like watching some videos. And I have to say that I love watching some of the videos on LinkedIn. They are so well put
really, on
together.
LinkedIn. Oh,
And there's so many there. And you know, I don't. Like I said, just because I'm older and been teaching for 30 years doesn't mean I know everything. So I love watching them because it's, some of my colleagues, some of them I know, and I love watching what they do, how they deliver. We can, learn
wow.
how to deliver things just by watching other people's delivery methods. But I refresh my knowledge. I might, take away a few things that maybe I could think about for, my next classes or something. So LinkedIn offers a lot of great things. Webinars for English teachers, that Facebook site. There's, but you can do it by yourself. Don't be afraid. And then, once you start, learning by yourself, of course, the next step is going to be, I want to learn with others. I want to be this. And, it's conference time coming. IATEFL is coming. TESOL is coming.
Bet,
Uh,
bet,
so,
bet. Hmm.
this is a great way to, learn as well, too.
Yeah, I'm daydreaming to get to the conference, to any of them, literally at any of
God,
them,
I've been to
because
so many in my life. I've just like, it's feel like Corona. I took a break. It was like taking a
oh,
holiday.
I'm so jealous. So, and the next one, what should a teacher look for when we speak about the effectiveness of a CPD course? Is there a way to assess whether CPD is being effective?
Again, I think I'm going to repeat some of the things that I just said, but I think that there are also some other things on the list as well, because we can check for effectiveness. We can. It can be
Hmm.
assessed. And I think the one thing is, and this comes to observation actually, and I always say that observation, the skill of observation, is probably the most important skill that a teacher needs to develop. You'll never get to being a good TBL methodologist or a PBL, methodologist, person who, uses this as a methodology of instruction if you're not a good observer. But we also observe how other people do things. We see what works, what doesn't work. And one thing that I look for is, of whether that's a effective workshop or not, is is this person creating an atmosphere of sharing? Are they just sharing their perspective, or are they letting other people share their experience of how they see it? Are they allowing for group work and collaboration? So, sharing is very important. And through sharing, we learn what a best practice is, and we also learn what lessons learned are. So the pros and the cons of something. But there's also, what makes for a good effective CPD course or workshop or webinar, and that is it fulfilling my personal needs? Yes or no?
Wow.
There's only three answers: yes, no, maybe. And does it involve some theory? What about that evidence-based stuff that I, just mentioned? Is it there? Because we need some theory as well too. Okay, but theory always leads to, explanations and then examples, and examples leads to modeling. So am I seeing modeling? That makes for a good webinar, effective webinar. And those breakout rooms when we're doing online, are
Yeah.
are they allowing me to practice what I'm learning here? So then the next thing is, so I can get some feedback. I need some feedback of, am I doing this right or am I doing this wrong? Help me. That's what teachers are there for. They need help, and they want to learn about it. They need support, so they need feedback. And then I think also is there some think time there, taking breaks and letting teachers reflect, in increments. Don't throw everything at them at once because that might be
Yeah.
too much for them.
Too much
So some break
sometimes.
time, some think time, and reflection time. Uh, but I'm a true believer that great CPD is not a one-time event. It needs to be a
True.
series of things. So, are there going to be some follow-ups to this training, or is this it? Because then you're just left out there by yourself and not knowing, if you're doing right or wrong. Okay. So, and that usually leads to some coaching, peer coaching, instructional coaching, where that's that part of that. Well, I had a break, I thought about it, I did it, and now I'm going to tell you what I did, and you tell me if I did it right or if I did it wrong. How could I improve that? And again, if I know if it's something's effective, is that social aspect there of learning? Am I being able to network with other people and build my personal learning network? Is that there as well too? And I think that's what makes for a good, effective CPD event.
That's why so many teachers follow you. That's why. That's you're because you're amazing. And here's the question from Miguel. What do you think are the areas that a teacher should learn sometime?
Well, that's putting the cart before the horse, Miguel, because you know what? I think I'm going to answer that question in just a few minutes. So, Miguel, I'm going to ask you, because like I ask all my teachers and students, do you have your notebook ready to take notes? Because I'm going to answer that question for you, and you should be taking some notes. Okay. So, I'm going to answer that for Miguel in just a minute.
So here we go. And now, is teacher CPD really about future proofing our career as a teacher?
It's 100% answer is yes. Yes. We need to future proof our ourselves as a teacher. If you're teaching, this is your career, this is your job, this is how you bring home, money. Well, all jobs, you have to future proof them. You always have to be learning what's new out there. What
Yeah.
skills do I need to add? There's other people who can take my job. You never know. But so you have to future proof it, and CPD is future proofing your job. 100% yes.
This is amazing. And the next one, how often should a teacher take part in a CPD course? You said about the not only once for sure, right? So how often?
Well, as often as possible. Okay. But in my experience, and especially during Corona, where I had hundreds of people, register for events, and you just couldn't keep up with all of that. But yes, it should be often, uh, but we can overdo it, and you can overwhelm yourself. You should take breaks. Don't try to do too much. uh, and learn in increments, just like we teach and we want our students to learn. We should be teaching ourselves to learn that way too. And so do it as often as you have some free time, but that free time means really taking the time to sit down and concentrating and focusing on what you're doing, because you want that for yourself, and maybe you need it, uh, but don't overdo it. Like every Saturday, or twice a week, and signing up for every single webinar that's free. Uh,
Yeah,
don't do that.
that's
Yeah,
crazy. That's
yeah,
crazy.
that's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah, that's not normal. Okay, that's almost like a workaholic. Yeah, but definitely as often as you can, but in a healthy way, and don't overdo it.
Yes, absolutely agree. And so the next one, we hear so much about blended and remote CPD. Is online CPD the next generation of professional development?
I would say that I'm going to use my own experience to answer that question, and that is I've been doing online learning uh, full time, uh, as
Wow. Mhm.
for since 2007. It's not anything new. It's been around for a long, long time. And so any teacher that thinks that this is, was a fad just because of Corona, I think that they might be wrong about that. Uh, we've moved on from online learning to, uh, all kinds of, virtual things, virtual reality. And so, now I'm under stress because, my God, I'm taking a course right now myself on virtual reality. And
VR, yeah, AR,
yeah,
VR.
yeah. And I have, it's being offered at the university I work at, and that class is full of professors. Just, they want to know what that
Yeah,
is and
it's
how
really
can we
interesting.
use that in our class. And so that's what I'm, sort of occupied with and engaged in right now is virtual reality. I'm future proofing my job.
This is amazing. I just want to move to the next one then. So, well, this webinar is about the CPD jungle. So, what is out there in the CPD jungle? So, what are some tips and suggestions for teachers to find their way?
I had to think long about that. And, I've done this, sort of webinar before about the CPD Jungle for teachers organizations in Germany and in the Netherlands. And I have to say that when I was preparing for today, I rethought that. And so I'm going to approach this from two different angles. One of them is I have what I call my watch list, things that I'm always looking at. What's going on? What are the trends? What should we be leery about? What's questionable out there? And then I have my suggestion list. And this might answer the question that someone else just asked here. But I'm going to start with the juicy stuff, and that's my watch list. Okay. And my watch list is really uh, things that are going on right now in the area of, in education, but we got to be a little bit careful about, and that is activism. Many teachers want to, get involved in animal rights, and they want to get involved in equality and fairness for non-native teachers.
Yeah.
And what about food and hunger in the world? And what about gender politics and the green movement? Let's go green. LGBTQ stuff
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and the parsnip stuff, and the political suppression in such countries and politics. And world Englishes, what English is the English we should be learning. Those are all very, sort of things I put into the category of activism. I just tell people, be careful. If you want to be an activist in the classroom and you have the ability to do that and get away with it, well, that's wonderful. But find
Yeah.
out what that really means, okay? Because there's people out there uh, professing that they're going to teach you how to do all of this and whatever. You could wind up actually doing more harm than good. So be careful when you're dealing with activism in as a teacher. Another thing is, some other trends, and that is, well, Corona brought technology. But the thing is, we were bombarded with technology and all the
Yeah.
apps and all the things that we had to do. Well,
Too
the thing is,
much.
we don't need all of that. We don't.
Yeah.
We don't need all of those things. The more technology you involved in the class, the more complicated you're making it, and the more you're setting yourself up for disappointment. So you really have to think about the technology that you're using in that class. Is it really needed? I have something on my Facebook site, which I always have pinned on my digital little helpers. And, I think every teacher should have a little like graphic facilitator like that for themselves and for their students. So go to my LinkedIn site or to my Facebook site and find my digital helpers and see, a little model for yourself and create one
Wow,
for
I'm
yourself.
interested. So I've shared with the resource collection. People in if you're watching us on YouTube, you can check out the Q&A box. You can find the resource collection. There are all the links to all the socials of Ron. So you can go there. You can find. How did you call that, Ron? Digital helpers.
My digital helpers.
I love this word.
And I created a graphic facilitator. It's just a sample. I have quite a few of those because I have different ones for different classes. But that one is for my general English class with international students.
Mhm.
And I walk through that with them to show them what technology I'm using, what would be helpful to them, suggestions. It includes games, quizzes, dictionaries, learning apps, vocabulary trainers. But also, our learning management system, Moodle, they have to learn how to work with that. They have
Yeah,
to learn how to work with
LMS.
Microsoft. So
Mm-hmm.
all these things. And I have a teacher who helps me and teaches all the Microsoft things so that my students, by the time they come to my class, they know how to do all of those things. So I
That's
can
amazing.
concentrate on my job, and that's teaching. Yeah. But back to this list of my watch list. uh, there's a lot of things that people are talking about mindfulness, and okay,
Yeah.
that's important, but we're language teachers, and I don't know if that's appropriate. I know I don't do it, and I just don't feel it's important. But then again, maybe that's my cultural understanding, because in Germany, if you start talking about that in a class, they're going to wonder, what kind of agenda do you have? Is that some kind of religion or whatever?
Yeah.
And there's this trend in positive psychology. We got to be careful about, approaching the topic of positive psychology, and these American ideas that, it doesn't work in other cultures.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then there's that thing, if you put the word neuro in front of something, that automatically you're going to be talking about the brain.
Yeah.
Well, so, got to be careful about that stuff too. Uh, and I'm also on my watch list. There's a lot of people out there doing webinars on how to get rich, on teaching English, and how to start and manage a business. And you're going to become a millionaire. And if you do it my way, you're going to be rich. Well, I do watch some of those things, but, then I just sit there, usually eating popcorn, because it's almost like a comedy show. Because if you're teaching and you want to get rich, maybe you're in the wrong business, okay? Because I don't think there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be getting rich teaching. Yeah. Uh, and I think the last thing about that is intercultural training. We hear so much about that. I have it on my watch list and my suggestion list, but there's a lot of people out there doing workshops and webinars about intercultural training, and you have to be careful. Ask yourself, who are these people? What do they bring to the table? Is it evidence-based? Because you can find yourself opening up Pandora's box if you
Wow.
start doing intercultural training and do not have the right training to do it. So again, be careful. Now, that was my watch list. Let's get to my suggestion list, okay? And I think that, what should teachers be, signing up for? What should they be doing to develop themselves? The number one on my list is assessment. And when I say assessment, assessment is not the same thing as testing. You need to learn what assessment is. What is diagnostic assessment? What is
Mm-hmm.
formative assessment? What is summative assessment? Sign up for those workshops and learn about assessment. The next thing on my list is the European Framework of Languages. Okay. Find out what it is. What is A1, A2, B1,
Yeah.
B2, C1, C2? If you don't know that and you're teaching, well, you're going to have a problem in Europe. I can tell you that right now. Okay.
Yeah.
And people are not going to take you seriously, because you should know what that is. Publishers make their books based on the European Framework of Languages, and testing agencies test on that framework. So you should know that. And so educate yourself on that. I think the third thing that's very important is, try to improve your classroom management skills. Take a workshop in, what is classroom management? What are those? What are some best practices for classroom management? What about lessons learned in classroom management? And when you're talking about classroom management, you're also talking about student engagement. You're talking about dealing with difficult behavior. You're talking about observation. Okay. You're talking about how to set up that room. What's the best way to set the room up? You're talking about problem solving. That's classroom management. And also talking about your own development as a teacher, which we call classroom persona. That's part of, that's behavioral psychology, but it's part of classroom management as well. On that list, for my suggestions, is learning to learn. And that's really
Wow.
methodology, okay? And that
Mm-hmm.
falls under the category of educational psychology. A lot of people don't see it that way, but it does. So, how are your methodologies? Do you know what a TBL is? Do you know what CLIL is? Do you know what deeper learning is? And do you know about PBL. And PBL is complicated because we've got different kinds of PBL. We've got problem-based learning, performance-based learning, project-based
Projects.
learning, and we also have practice-based learning. So,
Wow.
how are you on your methodologies? And sign up for some workshops about that. That definitely should be on your bucket list. But games, you know, some people can overdo it with games, and you can't play Kahoot all the time. But find
Yeah.
out what kind of games are out there that you can play with students. I love playing those with my students, quiz games and
Oh
things,
yeah.
vocabulary games. And I play it
Yeah.
online in my free time with them. They know
Yeah.
I'm online and they play with me. So what kind of games are there? Apps or whatever that you can use, software, whatever. And then every now and then sign up for some webinar which I call edutainment. And there's people out there like, and this is the only names I'm going to mention today. Vicky Hollett is a very famous name in English, the English teaching world. She's been around for a long time, written many books, and her husband do some really great videos, okay, about vocabulary and stuff. Look her up on YouTube. She has a huge following. Jason Levine, rapping verbs, hey, those are good, learning with Jenny. These are very famous names and influencers on YouTube. And, go there and find out about that. And what are they doing? Can I do something like that? Or can I use their videos in my classroom? And I'm sure that Jason, Vicky, and Jenny are going to like that I mentioned them.
Yeah.
Another thing that I have on my suggestion list is English for special purposes, and that is know what your teaching and learning context is. If you're doing business English, get with the business English people. Okay. If you're doing medical English, get with the medical English people. If you're doing engineering, then go with the engineering people. So find your personal learning network. Another thing which I find extremely important and is on my suggestion list is instructional design. Now that might sound like some,
Wow.
way complicated thing, but it isn't. It's, it is about methodology, but it's about lesson planning. It's about
Yeah.
materials creation, content creation, what topics to choose. You got to know something about instructional design. Now, anybody who knows me knows I'm really into graphic facilitation, and that's
Mind
really
maps.
hard. Yes. And so, find out, what's going on there with graphic facilitation, sketch notes, mind mapping, brainstorming, design thinking,
Mm.
all of these things, how to do some graphs and pictures and use those things and images for learning. Uh, the next thing on the list of what I suggest to teachers is we can always improve our communication skills. So if we take if there's a workshop there on what is an effective presentation, take it. Uh, if it's for free, even better. But just because it's free doesn't make it great. Okay,
Yeah.
so you get what you pay for sometimes. But we also need to improve our written skills too as teachers. So writing workshops are great too for us. And what falls under communication is small talk. That's something that a lot of teachers have problems with themselves in the classroom. But if you're going to teach it, you should take a workshop and find out what it really is. There are different cultural, perspectives to small talk. And the next thing is qualifications and certifications. Uh, there's so many things out there right now, Celta, Delta, and I just say Schmelta because,
Yeah.
there's so many different things out there.
So many.
Be careful. Do you need it? Uh, and know
It's
that
expensive.
it's
Yeah.
expensive. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, you got to save up for it. But do you need it? And there's financial support available a lot of times. So see what you can get out there. There is financial support. And the last thing on my list of suggested things is technology. We've got to future proof ourselves. I always check teachers for their technology skills, how they use technology. Do they know how to use apps? Do they know how to use Microsoft, Google Drive? Do they know how to create instructional videos? How are their online learning skills and teaching skills? And what LMSs do they know how to work? And for me, the most important, Nevis Schmelter. Yes. So I always say the Delta
Oh.
Smelters, everything. Yeah. But, teachers do need to know how to work a learning management system. And, for me, it's Moodle. So, and I'm going to throw another name out there, Nellie Dodge. She's out there. She knows what she's talking about. And so find Nellie Dodge on YouTube, sign up for some of her Moodle workshops. You'll come out a winner
Moodle is
on that
great. Yeah,
one.
Moodle
Yeah.
is great.
Mhm.
And there's a comment from Nives again. One of my classroom, when you were talking about classroom management skill with the younger high school classes, is to sit
Mhm.
in silence until they realize that they are too noisy for me to speak. It works.
That's true, Nevis. It does work. I always say, I'm going to go out for a cup of coffee. I'll be right back. That's what I say
Yeah.
because I work with adults and I say, okay, guys, I'm going to walk out, have a cup of coffee, and I'll be right back in 10 minutes.
And there is another one from Iskra. Thank you so much for joining. Encouraging our colleagues to share experiences and resources for your attention. This can include your peers from whom you learn are most. That's good. That's
That's
really good.
sharing. That's what it's
Yeah.
about. That's that social aspect of learning. When you're
Yeah.
talking about when it's with teachers, teachers want to share their experience, and
That's
they
what
do
Teachers
that.
Love to Do is all about.
Yeah, and they'll do it in the workshop. And if they don't get that chance to do it in the workshop, they're going to get frustrated. Okay. Because, somebody just throwing a bunch of information at them. They've got to have opportunities to do that. And then if they're not getting that, then, they want longer breaks. Okay. So they can at least exchange with their colleagues. So either or, but of course, a healthy mix of both.
Yeah, and there is also a comment from Kankam. Thank you so much for joining. I know him a lot. And learning as a teacher helps you to have command in your classroom, and these help you to deliver very well in the classroom. Yeah, that's true. And again, the comment from Nives, Dr. Nelly Deutsch. If am I correct with this? My mentor.
That's
Yeah.
yeah, she is fantastic. She's an American and she's in New York, but
Oh.
she does fantastic things and she's known all over the world. And I learned how to work Moodle from Nellie Dodge.
Wow, I would love to follow her and learn from her as well. I have thank you for sharing with the names again. It's super meaningful. And yeah, thank you so much for your comments again from Nives. I believe that interactive workshops is the best CPD online learning environment. Ron, what do you think?
Oh well, I totally agree with Nevis. Of course, I know Nevis, and so, but
Oh,
definitely, yeah, definitely. And Nellie's in Toronto. Oh, I thought she was
yeah.
in New York. Okay. She always puts New York time, okay? But definitely, interactive workshops are the best,
I love them.
and how they're put together. And I do believe that a good workshop should last about 2 hours and 30 minutes to 3 hours.
Finally, I heard this from
And
someone like you.
a
It's
really great
precious,
workshop lasts
precious.
4 hours. In fact, now when I do
Yeah,
workshops, I never do a workshop less than 4 hours. Never.
this is
I,
amazing.
I I just don't do it like that. I teach half days with the people that I work with. It's
That's
just better.
amazing.
Mhm.
That's amazing. And so, thank you so much for coming to talk for the teachers about CPD Run. And is there anything you want to add before we end our interview?
Well, I've said so many different things here, but I would like to say that if you are interested in taking control of your CPD journey, join us at Webinars for English Teachers. It is a Facebook site where I post and teachers from all over the world post. We have almost 30,000 members, people sharing all their ideas about CPD, workshops that are free from experts and specialists. I check everything before I allow any workshop to be posted there. I want to make sure that we run a clean ship, and that we are offering our colleagues all over the world the opportunity to take control of their CPD, become self-directed, just like we want our students to be,
Wow.
learn more
Mhm.
and improve your teaching practice. Because in the end, it's not about us. It's about our learners. And the better we are, the better we feel about ourselves, the better we can deliver, the better our students are going to be.
Wow, this is so precious. I don't know how you put all the words together to make this incredible, inspiring speech. Always, like every sentence, and I'm blowing away. And this is fantastic. I was asked about the recording. This video is going to be like stick to this channel, and whenever you want to watch it, you can go and you can follow it. It is always on playlist Teachers Love It Do. I'm going to attach this video to the suggestions on my YouTube channel because I love everything what Dr. Morrain does, like everything. And I suggest you to check out the Q&A box on YouTube again, and there you can find all the links that I've sent you already. You can find the resource collection, the feedback collection, and please do remember that if you want to grab a certificate or just you want to share with your learning path, please do capture some screenshots from today's session, post it on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, BK if you're watching us from Russia. And also you can tag myself and Dr. Morrain. And don't forget to use the hashtag Teachers Love You Do. I would really appreciate that. And so check out the collections. All the links, all the resources are there. You can reach out Dr. Morrain. You can follow him on Instagram, on Facebook, and
VK,
join. Yeah, BK, and join his group on Facebook, Webinars for Teachers, right?
webinar for
Is it
English
correct?
teachers.
Hmm.
Webinars for English teachers.
And on Twitter, you've got the Twitter account of your company, which is,
Syntax Solutions, the
yeah,
Netherlands.
wow, sounds really innovative. Very, I
Go
love
to
it.
the internet site and see the CPG that I offer to teachers.
Wow. So, what's a great Facebook page? Thanks for providing that space, Ron. Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much. Again, I can't leave this
Thank you,
space
Anna, for
without
inviting me.
showing. Everything happens to you, actually. Everything. I literally, people, I should tell you that everything thanks to Dr. Morrain. Thank you so much, Dr. Ron, for coming, for spending your time, for sharing your valuable, meaningful, impactful ideas for teachers who really need this. We don't need this that you mentioned before, this blah 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 theory, not impactful webinars. We had them like this, yeah, for 2 years. It's enough. And what we do here, I'm so grateful to have such amazing and great speakers, international, super multi-international ones here who can share with such great
And
experience.
I
And I
think we
can
can
see,
look forward to having a lot more.
I can't wait. Well, I just want to give shout out to Maria. Maria is an amazing teacher from Russia, Maria Pliskova. She's my friend.
Hello to everybody in Russia. I miss you, and hopefully I'll get back there very, very soon. Getting back to Moscow, St. Petersburg.
I'll
Love
be
to be
there
there.
wherever
Okay.
you go.
Yeah, and definitely try to make it to IATEFL. Can't make it to TESOL this year, too far away.
Wow.
But I definitely will be speaking at the Belta Teachers Conference coming up in May.
Mm-hmm.
And so look forward to that. So that's going to be my first public appearance in over 2 years.
Have you missed it offline? I mean, regime, this one format.
To be honest with you, no. I traveled all over the world. I've been to over 40 countries.
Oh my God.
And I mean, I speak 4 languages. And so I've been to so many countries. And, everybody thinks it's glamorous, it's wonderful. But packing suitcases, going to the airport, checking in, checking out, boarding, transferring, taxis, everything else, hotels, it gets a little bit too much. So I was
Yeah.
glad to take the break, but I'm ready to go back. And
Woohoo!
I'm going to do that in Belgium.
We can't wait. Belgium. I've been there only once, but I want to go traveling. Just thank you, words are coming. Thank you, Miguel.
So
Muchísimas
thank you,
gracias.
Anna. Thank you very much. Thank you. And thank everybody for coming.
Thanks, everyone. Enjoy your day. And this is our very first webinar this year. And this is so amazing one. So I'm so happy. And thanks, everyone, for joining. Stay safe, take care, and see you in the next videos, sessions, webinars. And stay tuned. Bye, everyone.